questions as well. So we'll get started. Joy and I would just have a few general announcements to talk about before we get to the presentation. So welcome to the second annual Cabin Fever virtual edition of the Deep Valley Book Festival. We did this last year and we thought it went really well. So we're really happy to do it again. The Deep Valley Book Festival gets its name from the setting of the beloved Betsy Tacy books, where Maud Hart Lovelace referred to Mankato as Deep Valley. So we have an author page set up for Maud on the website, and I'll get to that in a minute with some of her books on that page, as well as more information about her and her books can be found under Julie Schrader's page, and also the Betsy Tacy Society page as well on that author directory. The programs will be recorded and available again if you want to re-listen to them, or if you know of somebody who registered and they just couldn't get to the panel. If you're registered, you'll have access to the recording after this day is over. And we're almost done. We have this panel left today, and then at 4:30 we have some wrap-up announcements. We'll do a drawing for Festival Friends. Joy will talk about that in a minute, and we also have a very special announcement at 4:30 as to who our big name author will be for the October 1st festival. Be sure to like us on Facebook. That's a really great way to hear about what's going on. We post frequent updates on Facebook as well as the webpage, but if you're following us on Facebook, you can just get those up-to-the-minute updates. And especially as we get closer to the fall festival, we will have lots and lots of information on there for everybody to read about. I'm going to share my screen. I do just want to show the website to you where you can find a couple of things. So this is the main website, deepvalleybookfestival.com. This is that author directory that I was talking about. So please visit the author directory. We have many, many authors affiliated with the festival, both today and then the upcoming festival in October. And we just want you to visit these author pages. They are listed alphabetically, and we also have them sorted by genre. So if there's particular books that you're looking for to check out, you can look at them that way as well. Please visit these author pages, buy books directly from the authors. All money would go right to the author. They have the links as to where they want you to buy the books. So it's a really great way to support our authors and to be just a good literary citizen and support our literary community. And I'll turn it over to Joy, and she can talk a little bit more about the drawing that will happen at the end of this session, as well as how to become a festival friend.
Thanks, Rachel. Yes, we will be drawing for 4 books and 2 tote bags at the end of this session. So be sure to stay on for the whole time. Not that you would leave, because you're not going to want to leave, but you need to be present to win. And so when we call your name, you'll put your name in the chat so we know that you're here. And we've been giving away several books and tote bags already. So generously donated by our authors. We thank them so much for that. If you would like to become a festival friend, you have about an hour, just under an hour to do that. We really appreciate our festival friends. What it is you donate at least $25 up to however much you want to give us. And that supports the festival, all the costs we have involved in it, this virtual festival, as well as the in-person festival in Mankato in October 1st. And being a festival friend, as Rachel's sharing her screen, it tells you some of the benefits you get of besides being a good literary citizen and supporting authors and the literary community. You get the opportunity to have your name drawn for a big prize at the end of the day. We have a bag filled with about a dozen books from our participating authors, and worth upwards of $200, $250. So you will if you are a festival friend, you have the opportunity to be drawn for that drawing today, as well as a similar one we'll do in October. So thank you to all of you who have already become festival friends, and you still have a little bit of time if you want to do it. And I think that covers it all. Back to you, Rachel.
Yes, we thank you so much for your support. We have a lot of support for this festival. We are a nonprofit, so we just depend on people to help us out. So I do want to thank our official sponsors. We have Minnesota Heritage Publishing as our official sponsor, and our official media sponsors, KTOE and Minnesota 93 radio stations. Our official sponsors are also the Blue Earth County Historical Society, Fox Point Publishing, and J Graphics Inc. And there's more information about our sponsors on our website as well. We also have in-kind sponsors, Blue Earth County Library, Free Press Media, MankatoLife.com, Wink, Where Women Talk, South Central Service Cooperative, and By All Means Graphics and Printing. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the panel. I believe Nadia is moderating the panel today, and so everybody enjoy. It should be a great one.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to kick this off with drawing your attention to the title of this panel, Angry Housewives and Wedding Misadventures. We've got your back on how to write with humor and creativity. Already it's funny. It's, in fact, the humorous tone of the title of this panel is the first and sole reason I said, I'm going to be on that one. That sounds like fun. So I'd have to say, having humor in your titles is half the battle right there when you get started. And of course, we know that everyone thinks, or a lot of people think, that you have to be just magically born with a sense of humor in order to write humor, and that's not necessarily true. Now, some people are naturally funny. June and Lorna, I haven't met you often enough to know if you're naturally funny. Kiersten, on the other hand, who is a serious businesswoman, just oozes humor even when she's talking about serious things. You just know she's thinking something funny. At least that's the impression I get. Something that would make us laugh. But humor and how you use it in your writing is, excuse me, is a skill we can all learn to do. And even myself, as an example, I write in anecdotal small doses, and I write poetry, and poetry is notorious for drawing from the darker side of life. I mean, if a poetry is all sweetness and light, it's not even serious poetry. But every now and then I get a poem that is just, whoops, there's one, and it's just absolutely hilarious in my estimation. And if we have time, I'll read one later on. But let's talk with each one of you to introduce yourself, starting with Kiersten. Introduce yourself, talk about your book, book or books you've written that are on the humorous side, and the role that the humor plays in your writing.
Okay. Well, my name is Kiersten Hall. I am, besides an author, I've got 6 different books out, and I write in a couple different genres. One is memoir, which actually is my humorous one, general fiction, and I also do children's books. And eventually, if I sit still long enough, I'll have some other books out. It'll be great. I am also the co-publisher of Fox Point Publishing. And when people, sometimes at book events and stuff, I'll have authors or whoever point at me and go, oh, well, she's the publisher. And I'm like, the only thing that means is I've got the bigger jar of Tylenol. Matter of fact, where is it? It's right here, it's right next to me in my office. So there you go. That's all it means. But yeah, this is actually, I do 15 years of wedding misadventures. That is my humorous book. I used to be a professional wedding videographer, and I've been to 1,403 weddings in my life. So, you know, I've seen things, and it's in this book. And yeah, I don't so much put in slapstick or try to be funny. It's just, I write about the human experience. And I guess I just have a funnier take on things that happen. Maybe the people that are in my stories probably didn't think it was very funny, but yeah, I thought it was amusing. So I write about it. That's what I do.
Lorna, Landvik.
Yes, here I am.
The same question. Does humor How does the writing process work through to develop humor in your writing and the name of your humorous book?
Well, I would have to say that I am one of the people who I hope is funny intentionally. I mean, I know people who are funny unintentionally, and it can be very funny, but my intention, even since I was a little girl, was to make people laugh. The book I'm going to talk about today, I have 12 novels published. I'm in the final edits of my 13th. This book is called Best to Laugh. So I thought it was very apropos of today's panel. And it's the closest autobiographically I've ever written, in that it's about a young woman. I couldn't write autobiographically about being a young woman now, but anyway, this is about a young woman who wants to be a stand-up comic, and she goes to Hollywood. I went to Hollywood. She lives in a fantastic Hollywood Boulevard old school apartment, which I lived in. She goes on a couple game shows to make some extra money. So I made up a game show in this book, and I just wanted to pay homage to those days and times of doing comedy in a world that really wasn't all that wide open to female comics. But even more than wanting to be a stand-up comic, I had always wanted to be a writer. So when I didn't become the next Jerry Seinfeld, I guess I decided to focus my attention on writing. And I guess my worldview is humorous. So even if I'm writing about tragedy, which you have to do if you write about real life, you know, I try to mine some sort of humor when it's called for. So that's the kind of humor writer I am.
And June, let's hear from you about the same thing.
Well, I have them strategically placed up there. How do I do that? 29 published books. 8 of them is a middle grade series. And then the others are women fiction, and they vary from time travel to contemporary romance. And mine is more the unintentional humor. My characters just blurt stuff out. I'll be typing and laughing, and my husband will be like, "What?" And I'll go, "You won't believe what Donnie just said." He goes, "You wrote it." I'm like, "No, I didn't. He just said it." So it kind of just, it happens. I let my characters do their thing, and we get along just fine.
I just love that. And each of us has a different way of approaching humor in our writing. Me, I write poetry, and though it's mostly not funny, when humor comes up, it comes up naturally for me. And it's usually the surprise ending, a twist or a funny line. How do whoever wants to answer this or talk about it, one or more, how do you use the element of surprise, or do you, in your writing?
Well, I can start. And I'm going to give credit to a comedian named Ross Bennett. You may or may not know him. If you don't know him, look him up on YouTube, Ross Bennett, Bennett. I did demo videos for him back in the early 90s, I think it was, the early 90s. He sent it out to all the different talk shows, the evening talk shows and that kind of thing. He had this thing, and I don't know if he came up with it or whatever, but it was always saving something for, you know, keeping something in the pocket. So you would introduce whatever, and, you know, he's a storytelling comedian as well. And so he would bring something up and you'd laugh about it, and then it would go through his whole routine. And then at the end, he'd pull it out, he'd bring it around and bring up that subject again. And it made for a tighter story, and it brought it all around. It was like his whole presentation was like a nice gift with a bow on top. I mean, it was tight. And before we go here too, not like I had mentioned to people when we first got on, it's not that I'm the end all for comedy writing by any means, but I'll put up a blog thing I did about writing comedy, and it's got that explanation in there, but it's just hilarious. So I mean, if you can bring it up in the at the beginning, go through your whole spiel, and at the end bring it around and just wrap up any loose ends. I mean, it's tight and your audience loves it. And so that's what I try to do when I actually write something, or if I'm talking. I do that a lot in sales and just with talking with people.
You're right. And I know it when I see it, when I'm watching late night television. And I'm not sure what the name of that technique is. Lorna or June, do you know?
Do I know what is?
That technique that Kiersten was talking about, I think there's a name for it where you tie things together. Is that foreshadowing, or is that something different?
Foreshadowing is when you give little hints about what may happen in the future, but I think it's similar to the element of surprise and, when the unexpected occurs. And for me in writing and performing also, timing is so important. And that means the rhythm of the sentence that you say or write. If you put a word in, in the second place, like she laughed, and then you realize, oh, that's kind of a dull sentence, and just changing around the order of the words can sometimes give that element of surprise and change the rhythm of the story. So I'm always very much aware of the rhythm and the payoff. What is the final payoff? And you try to avoid cliches, like you don't want to write, oh, that was as good as sliced bread. You might think, oh, that was as good as sliced cell samples. I don't know, something like that. You just try to mix it up, try to be new. And as a reader, I always like, when the language gives me little things like, oh, I never thought of it that way. And I think in all kinds of writing, including humor, when you give that element of surprise and just give the writer something that he or she isn't expecting, there's a payoff.
Here's a question. I'll ask it of June. When I was in sales years ago, and we were in sales training, we were taught to, and this was telephone sales, we were taught to always be smiling into that telephone, because somehow that smile comes across as friendliness. Now, is there a counterpart to that in writing, as far as smiling at your computer or your page or what you're trying to write, or having a smile on your face or a humorous thought in your mind while you're doing it? Is there any connection in that manner?
For me, I've never thought about that. I did have one of those jobs. I used to waitress poolside. I grew up in Hawaii, and our manager always said, have a smile on your face no matter what. So me, I've always got dirty jokes going through my mind, so I can walk up to somebody and, hey, how are you? And you don't want to know what those jokes were, but yeah, no, in writing, I've never thought about it. Like I said, it just, for my characters, it just comes to me. One of mine in my time travel, she was from another planet, because I did go to another planet, and she messed up everything she said. Climax again instead of come again. And I mean, every little word was the wrong word, and it just was funny. And I don't know where it was coming from. So maybe I'll try keeping a smile on my face and see if it works even more so.
Yeah, Lorna, did you have a comment?
I can't say that I am smiling while I'm writing. If I had a mirror, I would probably be aghast at the expressions on my face while I write. It might look like I need to take a bathroom break.
Much like June said earlier, when you write, you just sit there and laugh. I have laughed through every one of my books. It's just funny, and yeah, I have a good old time.
I was gonna say, I can see you laughing when you're writing, so that makes
Yeah.
sense. Well, let me ask each of you this question. We've all been to different writing classes, and if there's one thing we always hear over and over and over again, it's show, don't tell. How does that apply to writing humor?
Well, okay. Well, I'll show you what I did. This will start it off. This is the physical show. Nadia sent us a bunch of questions because we all sat there like, well, what do you want to talk about? And we're like, oh. So she sent us questions, and I actually did my homework. But anyway, oh, good, June did it too. But when I write, I put the reader in the situation. I invite them in, and I kind of suck them in and put them in that situation. And I show that to them by using the adjectives and what the noises sound like and what they're going to experience. I'm not telling them. I'm like, oh my gosh, you should have been there. It's like, come on into my thoughts and my memories, and I'll tell you all about what I saw, and you'll be part of it. And so that's how I show, rather than droning on with a story where they'd be like, okay. Instead, I have them going, really? Oh my gosh, I can totally see that. That would be hilarious, whatever. So that's how I see it.
And I am kind of conflicted between the two terms, show and tell, because I do, when I write, try to paint a real vivid picture of and draw the reader in, but sometimes you tell things, and I think you do that through dialogue, but yeah, for me, I just, as a reader, I think I want to totally believe where I'm at. I want to believe in these characters. I want to come into your world. So that's the world I try to create. And I guess it's by showing, although my characters will tell you a thing or two if you ask them. So.
And right there, I think what you're doing is you're showing them, you're putting them in the world, and then the character tells them something. So definitely a combination.
Right.
Do you have anything to add, June?
No, I was trying to find the notes on the paper, what I wrote about that, and I think I already used that stuff. Yeah, I don't know if it's so much show versus tell, it's quick wit. There are a lot of one-liners. I've got one character that's always telling lawyer jokes, so that's not like it's comedy on my part. I had to Google, lawyer jokes to fit in. Even in my kids' books, it's actually based on my daughter and her best friend, and every little ditty that they've ever done is in there. So when they do their loser, loser, double loser, as if whatever, I'm having to write out the motions so parents everywhere will want to stab me when their kids start doing these things.
When I think about humor in writing, I think about different writing techniques, and it doesn't seem to me, you can correct me if you see it differently, doesn't seem to me that it takes mechanically any specifically different skills to write humor as it does to write something else. So what is it about humor that hooks a reader and keeps them coming back for more?
Well, I personally think, well, first of all, I think, why are my glasses so reflective? How can I stop that? But secondly, I think everyone loves to laugh. It's such a release. And if you can laugh in a book, you're taken not only to the different place that the characters live in, but to that different realm of happiness. Like everything melts away. You can laugh, and maybe in the next page you'll be crying, but it's just such a release to be able to laugh. And I like to release laughter. I'm like a good parole officer. I will release laughter, that con laughter.
For me, the way I tell the story, first of all, I don't purposely try to make it funny. I keep it organic. And again, I tell the entire story. Matter of fact, some people will be, like, it's more, it's better received in a book, because if you ever sit down with me, I'm sure people are like, oh my God, does she ever shut up? She has so many stories. But, I'm trying to take the listener or whoever for along with the ride, because I had a great time. So I'm going to share it with you, but don't try to be funny. The other thing, of course, is not everyone is going to be accepting of your version of humor either. I mean, don't try to please everyone on the planet, because it's not going to happen. And then you're going to, snuff out your flame, although you were just funny over there. It's just, don't try to please everyone. But yeah, share your story, keep it organic, throw everything in there. I'm very animated when I talk. And I have my pitch all over the place, and I'm like one woman circus show, whatever. And I just have fun. That's the other thing too. If you're having fun telling it, people will more than likely gravitate to your book, or if you're talking or whatever. I mean, you kind of bring them in. But
Mine, when Julie wrote me, mine don't fall under humor, but I make sure there's humor in every book. I love when I get an email from somebody and said, oh, her sense of humor, blah, 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 whatever. It was actually on my About Me page at my website that she said, you've got to sign up for this humor panel for whatever I have up there. So.
I was thinking about stand-up comics, and they often use self-deprecating humor. Is there any way of bringing that into written humor, or is that just apples and oranges?
I think if you're writing a particular character who's very self-deprecating, it's perfectly necessary to write deprecatingly about her. But no, I don't think as a novelist, I write you know what I'm trying to say. But you just have to be true to your characters. You might have a character who's always down on herself, and you can make her self-deprecation funny. But to me, that's not a mindset you need to go into writing fiction if you want to write humorous fiction. Or any fiction.
I think it really just goes back to, as I've had other authors explain it, and June even said it, you just sit back and watch the movie and you write it down, and wherever the storyline or the characters take it, maybe there's humor, maybe there's not. Well,
I always said, I will pick on me before anybody gets a chance to.
that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah. If it's there, you laugh at it. Like I have friends and they all know, oh, is that going to end up in one of your novels? Yes, it is. I have
Thank
this
you.
couple I adore. She's Hispanic, he's Irish, and you should see the two of them. She goes, yeah, right, because there's only one drunk Irish guy ever. It just, you got to pick on yourself first, and use it and let others laugh at you.
And that leads me to physical humor. I mean, it's obvious. Chevy Chase first comes to my mind. Carrey, whatever Jim Carrey, different people. I can't think of a female right now, but physical humor in writing, I think I can recall reading a couple of really funny scenes where that worked for me. What would be your comments about that?
First of all, Lucille Ball was a pretty funny physical comedian. I can't say that I'm trying to think back in my novels if I have scenes of physical humor. None are coming to mind, but that says more about my mind than it does about what actually may be in my books. So I'll let the other two expound on that.
Chelsea pointed out Kristen Wiig from SNL. She's pretty funny.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of funny
Yeah.
women there.
But humor translating to paper, again, that's really, now I'm sounding like a broken record, but truly write it all down. Don't leave any parts out. Write about the action and the reaction. Yeah, Carol Burnett, obviously. And yeah, explain the people's expressions, your characters' expressions. I mean, they're not all just, flat, one-dimensional characters. Put that, their different expressions into it, and what were they experiencing, and that kind of a thing. That's how you could translate that onto paper. Oh, come closer.
Why, am I talking too soft?
Oh yeah, now there you are.
I just was watching out my window at work one day and watched this pregnant woman waddling down the street. And I actually happened to be writing about a pregnant girl at the time. And I totally used it. It went in the book, and she's crying about, I look like a duck waddling down the street. And then the boyfriend hopped in, and then it turned in this tease about, let's go for Chinese, we'll get some duck. It just, every little thing you see, it steal it. That's like we keep saying, it just happens.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great example.
When
I'm thinking about different, not rules, rule of thumb. If you're working with visuals, there's a rule of 3. Whether you divide the image into 3s in different directions, and that helps to make a more balanced visual picture. There's also a rule of 3, and I'm not sure they actually call it that in humor, and it ties in with timing as far as the delivery goes. You deliver 1, 2, and maybe the third time is the power sentence. What do you have to say about the rule of 3?
I think it's, I often find it works. It's, oh yeah, that's funny if you add the third thing, but other times I think, no, it is organic, as Kiersten said. If it sounds funny to you the way it is, if you give 2 examples of something, use that. I love the idea that rules are to be broken, especially the rule of 3, where, if one celebrity dies, then 2 more are going to die in quick succession. I think that's a rule that should be broken often.
Well, when I got to this part of the questionnaire and it's the 4th word, I've seen the rule. I'm like, I don't know what she's talking about. I'm kind of a rule breaker. I mean, what? And I know the rule of 3 in imagery. I mean, I get that, what's satisfying and pleasing to the eye on a photograph or something. But I'm like, I'm gonna have to Google that. So I brought that up, and I'm like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna keep going the way I am, tell my stories, and if people want to laugh, they can. And if they don't, they don't. No, so be it. And back to the whole thing of you can't please everyone. I'm good with that because, quite frankly, I think I'm funny. So there you go. Yeah. So I don't know. So, matter of fact, there was an earlier panel where Nadia's like, I'm a rule breaker. So much like you, Nadia, I'm a rule breaker. And there we go. We should start a charter group, Rule Breakers Anonymous RBA. It'll be great.
Well, I'm laughing.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Anybody else have anything to add to that?
Oh, I'm with them. I don't follow rules. It just has to happen. And so there was questions before about writer's block. And I think that's why I haven't had it, is I don't follow rules. I'm not making myself get from A to Z. I just get there. I think when you're trying to force something is when it doesn't happen. So no rules.
It could also be that people that do comedy we just don't follow the rules. That could be part of it. I mean, that's really what makes it so much fun. Yeah.
That actually makes sense. You know, when we were first talking about this panel and someone, it might have been Kiersten, said, well, I hope the questions aren't too hard. And then I got done with this list and I looked at it and I thought, holy cow, I'm glad I'm the one asking the questions.
Now you see why I printed up. Both June and I printed up. We did our
I
answers.
think there's a lot of meaty questions in there and they are kind of hard and they do make you think.
Uh-huh. I read them and I'm like, oh, Nadia lied. These are hard.
It wasn't intentional either, but I could definitely see it in here. Well, let's see if I can find another hard one. Yeah, here it is right here. Funny sounds, and that probably I can relate to more because in poetry you've got all the alliteration and a dozen other terms for repetitive sounds that they use, but it also translates, I believe, into humor. Does anybody have any comments about funny sounds? Apparently the K sound is one of the popular sounds used in humor.
I would think just funny words. I mean, if you're describing, clomp, 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 or, something, if you're, because that's another, way to engage your audience and bring them in. I mean, everyone's heard someone clomping around before. So if you actually, and it's not a word that you would typically, or at least I wouldn't typically hear in my everyday conversation. People are like, oh yeah, that sounds familiar and whatever. But I would just think the words that, what do they call, automatopoeias or something like that? The word of what the sound sounds like. I think those are funny.
Those are funny, and funny words do actually have within them funny sounds.
Yeah. I actually think it's the placement of the word rather than the word itself. That, chicken is supposedly a funny word, except to a rooster, but it's where you place that in the sentence, I think. So yeah, I'm more about where does the word lie in the sentence than bringing up funny words.
I think you're absolutely right about that. And I'm thinking about, I remember learning at a young age, and it really stuck with me because I'd always thought a super funny television program, because that's about all I knew, and I didn't get the movies in those days. A super funny television program was a comedy. But that's not really true in the technical literary sense. A super funny television program or movie is a farce. And a comedy can be very serious. It can have tender moments. It can have moments of lightness and moments of humor and moments of love. What are your comments about the perception that comedy is supposed to be super funny and farcical?
And that stumped the panel.
That's another topic.
Well,
I agree with you. I think comedy embraces everything from a light moment to a really dark moment. And if that's your worldview, if that's how you look at things, that's how you'll write. And so that's the humor writer that I consider myself. I don't think I'm setting out to write humor, but my worldview is that, wow, this world we're in is everything from fantastic to and there's so much humor to be mined in it. That's what I do. But I also try to mine in all the other emotions. So I think comedy is, they say there's nothing harder. I don't know who they are, but I believe them. And I just want to write about life and humor always sneaks in, because I think living life, humor will always sneak in as well. Get away, get out of here.
And
Uh,
someone just posted a comment that humor is a great way to deal with life and the hard stuff.
But what Lorna just said, she said, I don't know who they are. Well, they are the ones that follow the rules. I'm just pointing that out. Now there you go. We have answered with the Deep Valley Book Festival panel, the one of the many mysteries in life. Who are they? Well, they're the people that follow the rules. There you go. But yeah, comedy is definitely the umbrella. And if you want to write a farce, I mean, that's going towards a certain demographic. If you happen to have, but then everyday life, I mean, yeah, as Lorna was putting it, there's all sorts of, comedy and serious and everything else in between. And that just happens. And I think probably the best is organic, or a sprinkling of organic if you want to amp it up a little. But if you really crank it, then you hit the farce and the slapstick, and that's, pinpointed for a certain demographic, a certain audience.
And I don't know if this is a question or not, but you could make a comment. I wrote down real life humor and mannerisms in characters. I think, don't we all draw our characters out of the mannerisms of people we've probably seen in real life? Isn't a lot of the reason some of the stuff we write about is humorous is because it's so real?
I'm first going to go back to June. Were you going to say something on that last question?
Oh, just when they were talking about shows, the Whose Line Is It Anyway was the one humor show that always floored me, because how those guys could come up with that stuff on the spot like that. And that's kind of what we've been talking about. It's just there. It just happens. That was all I was going to throw in.
The improv. All right. So humorous mannerisms. Well, basically, my answer here. My memoir is the funny book. And again, I just, I write about all the humans I ran into. And needless to say, when you go to 1,403 weddings in a matter of 15 plus years, you see a lot of funny things, especially if you have a funny outlook on things. Yeah, and with all the information that I've gleaned over all of my decades of being alive, if I write any specific funny characters, then yes, I'll utilize all of my great information that I am so good about giving to everyone else. Perhaps I will follow it, but then that might be a rule. So, whatever.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
I have a comment. Was that you, Lorna?
I love these Zoom things. I was going to say, as far as improvisation goes, I have done a lot of improvisation and have done a one-woman improvisation show for years. And that's why I didn't do my homework on these questions. I didn't even want to read them. I just liked, the spontaneity of hearing a question first. But I would also say to all the writers watching that we really improvise when we write, because when we write it down the first time, it's never been there before. So you are an improviser if you are writing. Then you go back and polish and shine, especially if you're doing humor and, this is kind of flat, you go back and change things. But that's just my little tip to writers. Just don't be afraid when you sit at your desk and let it fly, because you're doing it for the first time. You are improvising. Robin.
I think I'm going to check in with Rachel right now and see how much time we have. Should we open it up to questions? We can also have the panelists read something funny from one of their books if they want, but I'd rather address questions first.
Yeah, I would say this would be a good time to move to questions. You would have about 20 or so minutes for questions. It looks like there have been a lot of questions in the chat, so I'm sure people would be eager to get those answered.
So I guess we're answering questions.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Oh.
open up and look in the chat. Oh. Or do you have that, Julie?
I can throw the questions your way if you want.
Yeah, I don't see them.
go
here
ahead.
on my-
Sure. I'll go ahead and do that. Here's one question from Terry. Have you ever laughed so much during your writing only to find that the reader does not find that funny?
Yeah, so
But how could you know if the reader doesn't find it funny unless you're sitting next to the reader while she's reading your book?
Well,
And
maybe
they
you've
write
done
you.
that.
and it goes back to the whole thing of you can't please everyone. And really, isn't it, if you're writing and creating your own book, I mean, come on, folks. I mean, you're the most important. And if you know that you're not going to please everyone, you put out a book that you really love and it makes you laugh. There might be some, other deranged people like you out in the world who might find it funny, but you don't have to please everyone. I mean, you'll drive yourself nuts. And again, put out your own flame of funniness if you sit there and try to make everyone happy.
I think there was a song about that. You
Right.
can't please everybody, so you got to please yourself.
Oh, yes, yes.
That was going through my head. Now, I had a signing in Michigan and this sweet little woman walked over. Oh, I just had to come over because I saw a sign that said Jesus Christ. I said, oh, honey, then you have to go over there. The only way you're going to read that in my book is if one of my characters kicks their toe. So, yeah, just not going to please everybody.
Exactly. And actually as a writer in any kind of genre, that's not your job to please everybody. Your job is to put out some entertainment, some information. And yeah, everyone's got their different preferences. I mean, Lord, if you spend your entire life worrying about what everyone else thinks, you're going to be really unhappy. And that goes with absolutely everything across the board.
I can tell when I didn't please everybody. For some reason, I was listed at an event as a writer about hunting. And
But you got advertising, didn't you? So there you go. The silver lining on everything.
so I had a couple guys in, camouflage show up. And yeah, that was a sterling moment in my career.
How did that happen?
I have no idea. But I married one of the guys. No.
Oh, okay. Well,
I was already married, so just bizarre.
Cougar hunting going on?
Pardon me?
Cougar hunting going on in your books?
always look for the silver lining.
How about limits? Is there a limit as to how much humor you would put in a book?
I don't know how you would know if you reached that limit. Like, are people going to the hospital with, sore stomachs? I think you got to write what you write. And if it's funny to you, it's funny to you. But if you're writing a scene that's sad and it's still funny, you might think, oh, maybe I got to rein this in a little bit. But I don't know that there's a limit. It sounds like that's a rule that should be broken. No limits on humor.
Well,
None.
write your story. And then, of course, you're going to give it to the editor a couple times who's going to slice and dice it anyway. So,
And I think, Kiersten, you've already addressed this next question, but somebody was asking, does humor only work with fiction? And I know I've read plenty of nonfiction that just has me laughing totally in stitches. I can think of Steve Almond's Candy Freak, which is just written so well, so funny. David Sedaris obviously can nail that memoir genre with humor. But can you think of others or other experiences you have in writing humor that's not strictly fiction?
Well, I
Can't
know.
think of the name of the book, but yes, absolutely.
And I knew when I was a kid, Irma Bombeck, my mother loved her. And And now Dave Barry, there are so many really funny columnists, you know, who write about their real lives. So I certainly think humor can be in any genre, from sci-fi to nonfiction to how to get through 9 months of pregnancy. You know, it's all serving.
Yeah, Irma Bombeck, I went from, you know, Dr. Seussical characters with stars on their bellies straight to Irma Bombeck. And the reason why is because I like cherries, and she had Life is a Bowl of Cherries, you know, why am I in the pit? And I saw this book on my mom's bookshelf. I'm like, ooh, cherries, I like cherries. You know, I was a weird little kid. So I sat down, and Irma Bombeck became my favorite author. So straight from Dr. Seuss to that. And actually using humor, Nadia had brought it up earlier with poetry. Shel Silverstein, oh my gosh. And just the humor. Yes, it could be a little dark at times, but great humor. So across, huh?
Ogden Nash.
Yeah, any kind of genre. I mean, again, humor is part of the human experience. And boy, if you're a human and you don't have any comedy, any humor in your life, oh, that's sad. You need to come over and join the Breaking Rules Anonymous, or what was the acronym? I already forgot. Anyway, but I mean, comedy, humor, that's where it's at.
We could call it the Breaking Rules Regatta. And so the acronym would be BRR. That's where
There's
Exactly.
funny sounds and repetitive letters.
Yeah, someone just said RBA, yeah, Rule Breaking Anonymous. And then we could sit there and go, brr, and then actually have like flames behind us, you know, because we're breaking the rules. I mean, I got it all figured out. I'll send out the membership cards next week. Just put your name in the chat. I'll get on it.
Sounds like you have a logo and everything.
I have a whole plan.
Yeah, great.
I always have plans.
Becky writes, well, she said she's having a good time at the session. She's laughing a lot. She said, Paula Danziger, a children's author who wrote the Amber Brown series, said that after your first draft, take a red pen or red and blue crayon, underline everything funny with red, underline everything sad with blue, and your ultimate goal is to have purple, a blend. Have any of you heard of that? Or, you know, I think the bigger question is, do you temper some of that humor with some more of maybe the sadness, or I mean, like, is there a balance that you're looking for?
I've never heard of that before. But then again, and it's an interesting idea, although if your story, I mean, you're telling your story, so it's either that, I don't think there has to be a specific balance. I mean, it could be funny with a little unhappy, or it could be like a lot of unhappy with a little funny. But again, it goes, I guess, you know, I've thought about that too with all the different types of books I write. A lot of, well, the fiction and the nonfiction I do is all about the human experience. And in reality, there's no harmony. It's just kind of a catch-all. Whatever hits the wall is what you're going to get. So that's just me.
Is she a children's writer? I'm thinking that would be more applicable to a children's book or a younger book for the younger crowd, because an adult's going to take however much humor or however much sadness you throw at them, whereas you might want to balance out a kid's book. That's the only thing that I can think of that might make sense.
Balance anything out, like it was actually a real thing, not a book, but it can apply, where a friend went in to his mom in the hospital bed, and it wasn't like deathbed or anything, but everybody's there and serious and waiting for the doctor, and he just goes, don't go into the light, you know, like just something little, take that serious moment and turn it around, and and then you can be upbeat again.
Yep.
You know, whether that fit what we were talking about or not, but that came to mind. Somebody else made a comment, something like that. So,
Well,
as far as writing, you know, underlining in red and blue funny and sad parts, I personally would never do it. I wouldn't see the need or the point, but how I write, you know, somebody might not see the point of certain little idiosyncrasies I have. So I think it's up to the writer to decide, okay, what works for me? I want to leaven this page with a little more humor. Maybe I should outline, you know, again, I never think anything a writer does to help themselves get the actual writing done is wrong. It's just that I don't have any blue pens.
Well,
Gave them all away.
we'll send some in the mail to you.
With your charter membership for rule breaking
right.
anonymous fur.
She needs some blue pens.
And so when I keep bringing that up, for example, that's that in that pocket thing I was telling everyone about earlier. You know, you bring something up and then you scoop it up again and keep the laugh going, really. Anyway, yep.
For those of you writing humor, are you bouncing ideas off like beta readers or trusted friends? Are you talking through what you're writing? Are you giving it to them to just kind of give a read like, oh, hey, I thought this was really funny. I was at my computer laughing, but do you give it to somebody else to see if that humor really translated?
I don't share my writing until I'm all done with it. And I wrote my first book when I was a cast member of Dudley Riggs, which is a comedy group here in Minneapolis. And I did give the manuscript to a fellow actor to read it, not to check on the comedy, but to just check on the story, because I really enjoyed our scenes together and everything. And he still after all these years read my latest book when I was all finished. So I had never known what the term beta reader meant until I realized, oh, I have about 3 people I really trust, including my husband, who will always say, I love it. And I don't care if he's lying. That's all I need to know from him. But while I'm writing, because things change so much, I don't want to show somebody and have them say, nah, it doesn't really work for me, or because that might not appear when I type the end. So I just am the kind of person, I keep it real close to me till it's all done.
I would say for myself as a entrepreneur, you learn early on. You don't give away what you're writing. I mean, it's so easy for things to grow legs and disappear, or sticky fingers pick up ideas. And I mean, that's your material, you know? So no, I don't do that. Oh, darn it. Now I was going to say something else and I forgot, but there you go. It was important too. But yeah, I don't share that with anything. Oh, the other thing I was going to say, if it's a sensitivity issue, then you put it in front of an editor that can check, or, you know, if it's something that maybe, yeah, today's, you know, I probably wouldn't go there if I were you. So sensitivity editing, but again, that's going to be in your slice and dice with your editor. Yeah.
Mine, until the book is done, I've got my 4 beta readers, but I don't do it section at a time or a joke. It's going to go or it's not. And it's, yeah, when it's done.
Stephanie asks, what are your opinions about using, say, really blue language, using really sexual content or sexual innuendos, you know, the comedians that kind of have to pepper their acts with really strong language. You know, she said that she prefers just the humor that seems to relate to everyday life, but what are your opinions of that kind of humor writing or humor performance that maybe toes the line of what maybe could quickly become objectionable?
I think when people have to resort to, now this is my personal opinion, and although I will say, you know, I mean, Eddie Murphy, Raw, and all the rest of it way back when and such, Richard Pryor, etc. Funny guys, humorous, etc. But man, when you have to start putting down different groups of people, or you're swearing all the time, or whatever, it's like, really? I mean, is that the best you've got, that you're going to come out and shock and awe us? And then, I mean, really? So I like that organic, if you can, again, tell a story, and if you can wrap everyone into it, and then they go on that same trip with you, that same experience, and you get them laughing, then you've done your job. You know, and I understand, you know, the swear words are part of, you know, can't say that I don't do that a lot, but you know, swear words and all that kind of stuff occasionally might be peppered into it, but in reality, it's part of the story. Or if one of your characters say it, or whatever the case may be. But if that is your only intention, then in reality, you're going to be viewed as a trend or a fad, or you might disappear. I mean, if you notice, Eddie Murphy's cleaned things up. He's not strutting around in red leather, swearing up a storm on stages anymore. He's toned it down, and I think he's got a broader audience rather than a very pointed demographic. So.
In my writing, characters will occasionally use an expletive if it fits the character, but it's not that often. And I, as a person, I'm so tired of the F word used as a noun, as an adjective, as an adverb. I mean, it's laziness to me. You can't think of a better word to describe something. So, you know, especially if you're writing humor, it's all about the surprise element. You don't want to just, you know, that's no surprise. That instead of even being offensive, it gets to be, oh, yawn, come on, tell me something new.
Yeah, do you know a word more than 4 letters in 1 syllable? I'm waiting. Come on, excited. Yeah.
Another
Guilty.
question. Go ahead, June.
Okay, no. So I'm guilty of my characters having potty mouths, but not to the extreme. It's always strategically placed or for a reason, not just like, I can't tell you how many shows we've started that we stopped watching because it was like just too many F-bombs right off the bat, and like they didn't have a reason, you know. And definitely nothing, no political, no something that's gonna upset one reader that you know purposely. I mean, you could tell a fart joke and somebody would think that's offensive, you know, but definitely nothing that is gonna, oh, I'm gonna upset one person, but who cares? That's one person. You know, that stuff stays out.
My husband just perked up at fart joke.
See?
You got him there. Have you ever?
Can I just say, when we were kids, we weren't allowed to say the word fart in our household. That was a bad word. Instead, the question was, who shot a duck?
Oh,
Oh,
at our house, it's who puffed.
Mm.
oh.
Yeah. And I think I still, well, I don't live with the whole anymore, but
Barking spider.
barking spider.
Barking spider.
Okay, that's a new one. I've never heard of that. Or shot a duck, actually.
Yeah.
Or where's the elephant, as Nancy Ellison put it.
How about writing some humor and you're writing it and it doesn't quite work? Have you ever had to shelve something or shelve a character just because it, you know, maybe what it was in your mind wasn't coming through on the page?
Yes.
It's been the opposite. Character is too funny and he's moved himself into a sequel and he's the star.
Or save them for later. They popped up, but they aren't right for this book.
I probably have about 7 or 8 novels that I've begun, some into, you know, the 200s as far as page count goes. And I've just had to set them aside because I came not to a dead end, but to a T, and I don't know which way to turn. And my hope is that eventually I will return to all of them because I like them, but I was just, sometimes you just come to an impasse and have to decide, am I going to bulldoze my way through, or am I going to go on to something else that's nudging me and wants my attention? So,
Or you know, other than shelving them, I've noticed, because I've started literally like 10 other books that one of these days will actually get done. The characters hop into a different book. So like what June was saying, into a sequel. mine will just jump across the genre, and it's like they'd be better suited over here than what I came up over here. And then I start the indecision of like, maybe I shouldn't be working on this book. I should work on that book. And then, yeah.
See, I wish my characters would jump around, but they just sit there and pout. And I'm not, I like where I am. Forget it. So,
I'm not going to talk anymore.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, how about inspiration? I know many of you had mentioned, you know, some funny writers that you enjoyed or comedians, other types of inspiration that you have that helps you to write in this way.
I love to read about how writers write. I find a really good book is Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art, not The Art of War, not that one, but the War of Art. It's short, it's pungent, it stresses the need to get, you know, butt in chair, and he talks about resistance rather than writer's blocks, how we resist even things that we love, like writing. So if I'm thinking, I gotta work today, sometimes I'll just pick up that book, which is next to my desk, and, you know, read a 1-page sampling and then get fired up. And then if that doesn't work, you know, it's called Merlot.
Merlot. No, I watch people actually. And I think that probably stemmed with the fact that back to being a small child that went from Seussical characters with stars on their bellies straight to Irma Bombeck, a woman in her 40s as a columnist. I mean, that's a heck of a leap. I was a weird child. I've become a weird adult. So it works well for me. And I was a bit of a loner. I don't think people knew how to classify me or whatever, and that was perfectly fine too. In reality, being that, you know, I want to start the charter group of no rules allowed or whatever. I can't seem to remember what the acronym is, but anyway, I watch people. I spent a lot of time just being quiet and watching people. And then of course, with your vivid imagination, you start thinking, I wonder if this is their thing, or, you know, based on their mannerisms or how they interact with people, you know, and then you just start developing a story. And then, you know, the weirdness up here just starts laughing, and then you just sit there and laugh and type, and there you go.
And I agree. I love to watch people too. And during COVID, it was so hard not to go to big public places and just watch people, you know, not to go to the state fair, just sit on a bench and watch people all day.
Social media provides great people watching skills.
I like it live. I like it live.
Live,
Yep,
yeah,
yep,
people
that too.
watching.
June,
And
what were you saying?
when you're writing about the unusual characters you see and observe, exaggeration is a good tool. Just push them a little bit farther over the top.
Exactly. June, what were you going to say?
It's just part of being a writer. I mean, ever since I was in 3rd grade, I was told I would be a writer. I just always felt like the odd duck, the black sheep, whatever you want to call it. And when I finally sat down and wrote something and I found an online forum, I'm like, oh my God, you people are just like me. We're freaks. I'm a writer. Oh my God. Okay.
Well, great. Thank you so much. I'm just going to stop it here with questions because we do want to move on and get to the drawing portion of this panel. For everybody who's stuck around, they will get their name called for books for our giveaways. So let's go ahead and do that. Joy, do you have some names for us?
I do have some names. We've got 4 books we're giving away and 2 tote bags. And the first book is Kiersten's book, I Do, 15 Years of Wedding Misadventures, about her 15 years as a professional wedding videographer. And the winner of that book is Kristen Schaefer. Kristen, if you're with us, please put your name in the chat. Let us know you're here. All the winners, if you hear your name, let us know you're here. Otherwise, we will move on to the next name.
I don't see a Kristen.
No,
I think
Kristen.
we'll have to move on.
All right, we move on to Sue Rokos. Sue, are you here? The book
I
is
do the
Willie.
Vanna White thing.
I don't see that name either.
All right. Next name, Luann Jacobs. Suspense.
To be present to win.
They have
They
to
have
be present to win.
win.
Yep, I don't see a Luann.
Luann. All right, next name, Jane Lufkin.
Don't see a Jane.
Jane.
Oh my
Where is
gosh.
everyone?
How do we lose people?
I don't know.
Next name, Lynette Schneff. Lynette. The book could be yours if you're here.
Nope.
Nope.
Come on, people.
They're all at the bar.
No
Well,
one's-
there you
no
go.
one's-
That's right. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Next name is Heather Skinner.
She might even have this book.
Heather's here.
Oh, okay. Yep.
All right, Heather. Our next book is June's book, Money Didn't Buy Her Love, a romantic comedy about a plumber and then the daughter of a billionaire. First name is Joanne Griebel. Joanne, are you here?
I see a Joanne. Let's hope she types her name in.
We need theme music.
We do.
Gotta work on that for next
Yeah,
time.
I'm like, I vote for Lorna. She can provide the music.
Yeah, Lorna. Okay, Joanne is here. Hooray.
Win.
Okay, the next book is Lorna's Best to Laugh, her 2014 novel about a Minnesota woman who moves to California to pursue a career in stand-up comedy. And the winner is Evelyn Thomas. Evelyn, are you with us?
I don't see Evelyn.
What the hell, Evelyn?
Evelyn, where are you?
Lorna, did you swear?
But it was a mild one. It was mild.
It was mild. It was the HE double hockey sticks
Yeah.
one.
It was that town in Norway.
Yeah,
You were in
exactly.
Character.
Yeah, the Norse character.
If Evelyn is not responding, then our next name is Sarah Buren. Sarah.
Sarah, smile. Come on, accept my book, Sarah.
Don't see Sarah.
Sarah. All right. Next name, Christine Nestler. Christine, are you there? You could have Lorna's book.
Christine,
Put your name in the chat.
Christine, 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 Christine.
Christine, say
Christine. Christine.
no, Christine. Actually, I think she had to watch this later because I know Christine.
Yeah, they're gonna be watching it like,
They're gonna be
"You
like,
missed out on my book."
I'm trying
Okay.
not to take this personally.
I was shut down 5 times.
Yeah, I feel like Kiersten had more. Yeah.
Okay, how about Vicky Bartz? Vicky, are you with us?
I bet Vicky is.
No, Vicky fooled us.
No.
No?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Vicky, I had such hopes for you.
Bonnie Danielson.
Come
That
on,
sounds
she'll-
like
Oh, Vicky.
Oh,
Well, there
we
is a
got
Vicky
Vicky
Smith.
Smith,
Is that who you
but
call?
no, we were looking for Vicky Bartz.
Yeah.
Change
Hi,
your name,
Vicky.
Vicky Smith.
Lorna will serenade you.
I
Get over
feel-
to your computer.
I feel like maybe we
There's
should.
Bonnie. Bonnie's here.
We've
Oh.
got 50 people there.
Yeah.
So
Bonnie,
Bonnie,
I love you.
Bonnie, you're
And,
the
and
winner
half of
Lorna's
them went to
book.
the bathroom. I
Right.
don't know.
Our next book is Painted Skies by Barbara Marshak, who's not on the panel here, but she's one of our authors, the Deep Valley Book Festival authors. And her book is a romance novel about a woman's journey to find healing through her relationships with her only daughter, her newfound friend, and a charismatic cowboy. So the winner of that book, if you are here, is Andrea Ross. Andrea, if you're here, please put your name in the chat.
All right, we got a charismatic cowboy. Who's on? Andrea, let's roll.
Don't see an Andrea.
Oh my gosh. Did
All
everyone
right.
go to the bathroom?
I don't know.
Really?
They must have.
Our next name is Jennifer Peliquin. Jennifer, are you with us?
Yes. I'm like, I thought I saw her name in there.
Charismatic cowboy. Come on, Jennifer.
Jennifer, let us see your name.
Jennifer's a no-show.
Not there? All right,
Oh.
moving on. Erica Evans.
Now that sounds like a character in a romance novel.
Yeah, sounds like someone who
Erica.
meets up with a cowboy. Erica, cowboy.
Erica.
Bueller.
Our next name, Linda Fletcher.
Oh, Linda.
There are no L's, no Linda.
Okay, I think this book might be passing by my 5 stance. Yeah. Being stood up by 5. I think the next one here is winning.
All right, Lily Tice, are you with us?
Nope, no L names.
No else. Okay, Jennifer Hayden.
If this happens with the tote book full of books, I think you should put our names in.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think it's happened with the tote book.
Okay,
All
How
right,
about-
looks like Chelsea wants to win.
how about Kristen Troska?
Oh, she's got to be here.
I do
We
see her
should give
name
it
as
to
much.
Chelsea and Barbara.
All right, Kristen.
Kristen,
Up
yeah.
there she is.
Get the
Yeah.
cowboy.
Woo! We got it
Woo!
figured out.
Somebody gets the cowboy. Now we also have 2 tote bags. Ellie Zaragoza, are you here?
I don't see an Ellie.
And you said there's no L's?
There's no L names for first
Okay, I
name.
won't read this next name.
Okay, God, it's like, what's going on there?
How about Stephanie Larson?
I see her name here yet.
Stephanie, you could have a tote bag. You just need your,
Yep,
yes,
yep.
All right.
Stephanie gets a tote bag. Okay, one more tote bag. Let's see if we can get this quickly. Melinda Emery, are you with us?
I see her name in here.
There
Yep.
she is.
Yes, congratulations. All right, we've got all our winners. So winners, send your mailing address to contactdeepvalleybookfestival.com and the author will personalize the book to you and mail it directly to you. If you'd like a special inscription, if you want one of these funny women to write something funny to you, please mention that in the email.
If you would like your membership card for the, what are we calling it again? Rule Breaker
Burr.
Anonymous? Burr.
Sure.
Okay, that'll be like our secret handshake, you know, when you go up to another rule breaking anonymous member, if they go burr and you go burr, then you know you're like the same secret club.
Yeah, but you'll just think they're a normal Minnesotan, especially.
Oh,
in
That's true.
Good point.
That's true. All right. Well, okay, we'll figure these out, the technicalities.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, panelists, for being here. It was really a great, funny panel. It's a great way to end the day with our panel. So thank you so much. Thank you for everybody who is here and who is part of this panel, who listened. Congratulations to the winners. We have one more thing today. So we have the 4:30 announcements, the festival friendship bag to draw from, and the very special announcement about who is going to be our headliner for our October 1st festival in Mankato. So I hope you can stick around for that. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.
Thanks,
See you guys later.
everyone. You're
Burr.
Brr.
Lorna, Rachel, Joy.
Bye-bye.